As I said at the top of the show, we have a special guest with us today, and he is the State Superintendent of Public Education, Public Instruction, Mark Johnson. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you again.
It's because your first visit to Education Matters
Yes.
since being elected. You were sworn in January 2nd, so I guess you've passed that mythical 100 days plus. So, you know, what's been going on? I mean, it seems like every other day I see another news release or clip that you're out somewhere visiting schools.
Well, it was one of my biggest priorities campaigning, was to let people across the state know that the Department of Public Instruction in Raleigh needs to truly be a place in Raleigh that supports schools all across the state, whether it's rural, urban, cities, farms, the coast, the mountains, Charlotte, Raleigh, everywhere, including the people in the building. And we all need to get out there and recognize that we're not there to be the people to tell school systems what to do. Part of our job is the compliance, but we should be going at it with the mindset of, how do we help you comply with the regulations that are put out there? How do we support you to overcome the challenges that you're facing?
Now, you've been talking to teachers. Did they have this, the old axiom, we're from Raleigh and we're here to help? And what are they telling you? What are the teachers, what are the principals telling you?
The reaction has been so fantastic. It has been one of the best parts of my job. It's an honor and a privilege to be the statewide representative. It is the best part of the job to get into the schools and visit with the students, visit with the teachers. They have been very appreciative that someone's coming from Raleigh to all parts of the state to hear what's working well and what's not working and bring those concerns back to Raleigh.
Right. Now, I mentioned about the two bills, and one I want to ask about is about the staff positions. Now, before you even took office, you found yourself kind of involved in a little bit of a power struggle. We had your friend, Chairman Bill Kobe, on when the lawsuit was filed, and so our viewers are aware of that. Tell us, if you can, I know this is still a pending lawsuit, why you believe that the law that was passed in December, shifting responsibility from the state board to your office, is the right approach.
Well, it's the right approach because I'm the person who's there every week attempting to run the day-to-day of the department. I should have the authority to hire my own chief of staff. I should have the authority to hire my own deputy, my own CFO. That's authority that I'm probably the only council state member, probably one of the only elected politicians across the country that I don't even have my own authority to hire my own chief of staff. That's a position I've done without for most of my tenure as superintendent, and I still have no process from the state board on how I will get one in the foreseeable future. I would point you to, and you might be able to link this at some point, to where I filed my affidavit.
Oh, we'll put it on the website.
Please do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is out there. It's public record. It details what has happened over the past few months, and really goes into detail about how the processes have been slowed down, how I have not been able to bring in people that really support my vision of being the people in Raleigh who support schools, not the people in Raleigh who tell schools what to do.
So that one I mentioned in our headlines, the idea of reallocating some money, is that partially to sort of help you get some people that you need to do it? Is that how you see it?
I think that's how I see it. Yeah. I appreciate the NC House putting that through, and I hope the NC Senate will go ahead and approve it as well. That's actually taking funds that are already at DPI that are not being used. Those are vacant positions. Some of those positions have been vacant since 2015. I can immediately take those positions and fill them in with some key people to start being that department that more effectively, more efficiently supports schools in the districts. And also, one of my main goals is, when I'm out on the listening tour, hearing what's working well, taking what works well, bringing it back to Raleigh, and scaling it across the state. We will need to refocus the Department of Public Instruction on being a clearinghouse for these great ideas and getting the support out into the districts to make them happen.
All right, let me shift gears. No question, the biggest news covered story in terms of education in the last several weeks, a couple of months, has been HB 13, and the concerns that it was going to cost a lot of jobs out in the field, specialty teachers. You released a statement supporting this amended HB 13. What's your take on the issue itself and on the compromise?
I commend the NC House, the NC Senate, and especially the superintendents across North Carolina. They worked very hard. We had our people, legislative directors, in the General Assembly building too, working on this. This is a good compromise that puts students first. Obviously, there's going to be more work that needs to be done, and what we really need to start talking about as a group is transparency. We need to update the business systems that run our schools. We have superintendents have to deal with 3 different business systems. HR is on one system. Payroll is on another system. Licensing of teachers is on another system. So the amount of effort it takes for a superintendent or even someone in the General Assembly to try to get an accurate count of how many art teachers are there in this district, or how many PE teachers are in this district. We're having a really hard time getting the accurate count, the accurate class sizes. So I will be using this as a real push for one of my top priorities, which is transparency. When we stop arguing over what the facts are, we can all come together and start talking about the solutions.
Look, I got to ask you though. I mean, do you think superintendents were playing games and hiding information? That was kind of that was a pretty loaded charge from Senator Barefoot.
That's tough, and I think there's a level of trust that has to be built up between the NC Senate and the superintendents, and I am happy to start building that bridge. I think that is something that is pre my tenure that I've walked into, but is absolutely a priority of mine to let everyone know we're on the same page. We all want what is best for students and teachers, and together we can move forward on this. I think
that's a good point.
Having transparency is going to be the first step in that direction.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, last questions before we run out of time. You've been focused a lot on early childhood education and literacy. In fact, we had a great picture of you doing some reading to some kids, which I know you do at home too. But you've been seeing some kids. Tell us why that's a focus for you.
Look, talking about at home, I have a 4-year-old daughter, and my 4-year-old daughter's she's already got a leg up when she enters kindergarten because either my wife or I or someone reads to her every night, and she has letter comprehension. She knows how to hold a book. She knows the way a book works. Unfortunately, too many of our students are entering kindergarten either 2 or even 3 years behind. Most teachers across the state are doing their job.
Right.
They are successfully growing students 1 year for every year they are in the classroom. But when a student unfortunately comes into kindergarten 2 or 3 years behind where we need them to be, then it's that much harder to get them to 3rd grade reading grade level.
In some cases, almost impossible. Right?
Almost.
Well, look, I wish we had more time. You'll have to come back because we've got so many things to talk about in education. But we appreciate you being here today. We're going to have some guests up next talking more about early childhood education.
Thank you.
But before we go to break, see if you can answer this question. True or false, early childhood education programs lower the odds of children needing special education during elementary school?